She thought her new engagement meant a fresh start, but the moment she posted the photo online, the man she escaped found her again. What followed in the next 48 hours became one of the most chilling cases of digital obsession turned deadly. Emma Carter stepped into her new life with a cautious hope, believing distance and time would finally silence the chaos behind her. She chose a small rental house on the edge of a quiet town, valuing its stillness more than its modest appearance. Her days slowly found rhythm as she arranged furniture, unpacked forgotten belongings, and created routines that made the unfamiliar space feel safe. Emma kept her circle small, limiting contact to a few coworkers and distant friends who respected her need for privacy and emotional breathing room. She avoided mentioning her past, fearing that revisiting old wounds might disrupt the fragile calm she was trying to rebuild around herself. Her ex-husband's controlling patterns still echoed in her thoughts, but distance allowed her to breathe more freely than she had in years. To ease the lingering tension, she filled her evenings with small projects, turning old furniture into colorful pieces that added life to her quiet home. She also began exploring the town's walking paths, using the gentle movement and fresh air to release the heaviness that had once shaped her daily existence. Neighbors noticed her calm presence but sensed a guarded edge, understanding she was someone rebuilding herself slowly, piece by piece, without rushing forward. Emma often sat on her porch during sunset, letting the warm light soothe her thoughts as she pictured a future free from fear. Every quiet morning strengthened her confidence, reminding her that separation from her past was not just physical distance, but emotional liberation. Although she still carried traces of old anxiety, she believed consistency and solitude would help her rebuild a life centered on peace and stability. Each day felt quietly hopeful. Emma's life began to feel steady again by the time Joshua entered it, arriving during a moment when she least expected connection. She met him through a small community event she attended only because a coworker insisted she needed a break from her routine. Joshua stood out for his calm nature, offering a sense of stability rather than intensity, something Emma hadn't realized she deeply needed. Their early interactions were simple, built on shared interests like weekend markets, quiet trails, and small-town cafes. Emma found comfort in the way he respected her boundaries, never demanding explanations for her silence or pushing her to reveal more than she wished. His patience allowed her to grow confident in opening pieces of her life without fear of judgment. As weeks turned into months, Joshua became woven into her daily routines. He often helped her with errands, shared meals after long days, and encouraged her small creative projects. Emma noticed how her home felt brighter when he visited, filled with a warmth she hadn't experienced in years. She began to imagine a future that didn't revolve around protecting herself from past memories. Instead, she envisioned a life that included laughter, shared plans, and the security of someone who valued her well-being. Eventually, Emma felt comfortable enough to let small glimpses of their life spill onto her social media. She rarely posted before, but now simple moments felt worth sharing. Sunset walks, handcrafted meals, and seasonal decorations they set up together. She believed these small posts remained unnoticed by anyone outside her circle, never imagining they could attract the attention of someone she wanted to forget forever. For the first time in years, Emma felt genuinely safe, unaware that her newfound happiness would eventually draw shadows from her past closer than she ever intended. Emma's decision to share the engagement photo came from a place of joy she had not felt in years. Joshua's proposal happened during a quiet evening at a lakeside spot they often visited, a place that had become meaningful through countless peaceful moments. The ring was simple but thoughtful, reflecting their calm and steady relationship. When Emma posted the picture, she attached only a brief caption, believing the moment spoke for itself. She expected a handful of congratulatory messages from friends and relatives, nothing more. The image felt like a symbol of her survival, a reminder of how far she had come after leaving a painful chapter behind. As the post circulated among her small network, it gathered more attention than usual. Old acquaintances appeared in the notifications, people she hadn't spoken to since long before her divorce. Some reshared the picture, unintentionally widening its reach. Emma didn't think much of it, assuming people were simply happy for her. She continued her day normally. unaware that the growing visibility of the post had pushed it onto a screen she hoped would never see her life again. Derek, her ex-husband, had drifted through the internet under various anonymous accounts since their separation. He rarely searched for her directly, but occasionally scanned old connections out of habit. That night, Emma's engagement photo appeared as a recommended post. The image of the ring, her smile, and the small details in the background triggered a flood of unresolved emotions he had kept buried. Rather than moving on, he fixated on the idea that her happiness existed without him. He saved the picture, zooming in on every corner, trying to gather any information he could. What Emma viewed as a moment of celebration became, in Derek's mind, a spark that reignited an unhealthy obsession she thought was gone forever. Derek's quiet reappearance in Emma's life began through silent observation rather than direct contact. After seeing her engagement post, he created several new accounts to avoid detection, each one designed to blend into the endless noise of social media. From those profiles, he watched every update she shared, no matter how small. He analyzed her photos with an intensity that grew each day, tracing the outlines of objects behind her, studying reflections in windows, and comparing backgrounds to maps he found online. Each detail became a clue in his mind, fueling a distorted belief that she had moved on too quickly and left him behind. The more he observed, the more his thoughts became tangled in resentment. He convinced himself that her new life was built on betrayal, even though their marriage had ended long before she met Joshua. Emma, unaware of any threat, posted occasionally without giving much thought to what those images revealed. She believed her privacy settings limited her audience to people she trusted. She assumed the rest of the world simply scrolled past her quiet moments without interest. Derek's monitoring grew into a daily habit. He checked her profile the moment he woke up, during breaks at work, and again late at night. Sometimes he replayed old photos, comparing them to new ones in hopes of finding inconsistencies that justified his anger. Each harmless update, garden pictures, grocery pickups, or glimpses of her home, added to the mental storyline he was constructing. He never interacted, never left a comment, never sent a message. His presence existed only in the shadows of her notifications, invisible yet constantly alert. Emma remained confident that her past was long behind her. She felt secure sharing pieces of her life, unaware that someone she had escaped was studying her world from a distance, preparing to step back into it without warning. Emma's friends began noticing unusual signs long before she realized anything was wrong. It started with harmless details. Unfamiliar profiles liking photos she had posted months earlier, sudden bursts of activity on posts that rarely attracted attention, and messages that appeared as brief notifications before disappearing from her inbox. At first, her friends mentioned these odd interactions casually, assuming they were typical glitches or bots. Emma listened but dismissed the concerns, believing her quiet online presence offered little for anyone to fixate on. As the weeks passed, the patterns grew more noticeable. New accounts began following her almost immediately after each update, disappearing days later without explanation. Some profiles viewed her stories the instant she posted them, even at odd hours. Her friends, who were protective after witnessing the struggles of her previous marriage, gently warned her that something felt off. Still, Emma found comfort in assuming it was nothing more than the randomness of social media. She focused instead on planning her upcoming wedding, choosing colors, organizing tasks, and imagining a ceremony filled with peace. What Emma didn't know was that Derek was behind many of these interactions, moving carefully to avoid detection. He collected every piece of information she shared, even the smallest glimpses. A photo of her garden told him where sunlight hit her yard in the morning. A picture of her coffee beside a window revealed parts of her new home's layout. Each detail, insignificant to others, carried meaning to him. Meanwhile, Emma continued living as though her online space was harmless. She believed the privacy she felt in her everyday life extended to the digital world. Her guard lowered as she became more absorbed in preparations for her future, unaware that someone she hoped never to face again was quietly gathering every clue she unintentionally revealed. Derek's decision to travel to Emma's town formed slowly but solidly, fueled by the obsessive thoughts he had allowed to shape his days. After weeks of watching her online life unfold, He convinced himself that he deserved answers she had never promised him. One evening, he packed a small bag with only essential items, careful not to draw attention to his sudden absence. He took time off work under the excuse of personal matters, ensuring no one would question where he had gone. His mind replayed Emma's engagement photo repeatedly, distorting the scene into something he viewed as a deliberate insult. As he drove through the night, Derek clung to a growing sense of urgency. The long highways gave him too much time to imagine confrontations and outcomes, each one darker than the last. His thoughts spiraled until he built a narrative in which Emma's happiness was an attack on his pride. The quiet hum of the car did nothing to settle his mind. Instead, every mile seemed to strengthen his resolve and harden his emotions. He arrived in the early hours of the morning, but did not enter the town immediately. Instead, he parked on the outskirts, reviewing the photos and notes he had collected during his weeks of surveillance. While Derek traveled in secrecy, Emma spent the evening wrapped in a completely different world. She arranged small decorations on her dining table, compared color swatches, and smiled at the thought of her upcoming ceremony. The warmth in her home contrasted sharply with the cold intentions of the man moving closer to it. She ended the night believing her life was finally unfolding exactly as she hoped. Unaware of Derek's journey, she drifted to sleep peacefully, not knowing that her past was already on its way, closing the distance she believed would protect her forever. Derek reached Emma's neighborhood just before dawn and chose a hidden spot where he could watch without being noticed. The quiet residential streets offered plenty of cover, and he used the early morning stillness to study the area. From his parked car, he observed the rhythm of the neighborhood, the dog walkers, the joggers, the routine of passing vehicles. He waited until he felt confident that he could move without attracting unwanted attention. Patience became his strategy, allowing him to blend into the background while gathering details about Emma's daily habits. When Emma stepped outside for the first time that morning, Derek felt a surge of fixation. He watched from a distance as she checked her mailbox, watered a few plants, and returned inside. Every movement she made was quietly recorded in his mind. He took note of the times she left for errands, how long she stayed out, and when Joshua typically visited. Each observation shaped his growing sense of control, giving him the illusion that he understood every part of her new life. Emma, meanwhile, continued her routine without any sense of danger. She focused on final wedding preparations, choosing small decorations and organizing tasks with steady excitement. She believed her days were predictable in the best way, filled with comforting patterns that made her feel grounded. The idea of someone following her never crossed her mind. As Derek lingered near her street, he rehearsed different plans, adjusting them as he gathered more information. His presence remained invisible, yet constant, shadowing her movements without leaving a trace. Emma passed by windows and driveways without ever noticing the pair of eyes watching from beyond her peaceful world. The calmness she felt during those hours masked the silent approach of someone she thought she had left behind forever. Emma spent the day before the wedding immersed in a mix of excitement and organization. She and Joshua moved through the town gathering the final items they needed: small floral pieces, ribbons for chairs, and simple decorations that matched their quiet vision. They stopped at their favorite cafe for a quick meal, unaware that every step they took was being observed from a distance. Emma noticed nothing unusual, focusing instead on how close she was to a new beginning that felt peaceful and earned. Derek followed them with calculated distance, careful never to get too close or reveal his presence. He watched them through parking lot entrances, store windows, and side streets, memorizing the way they interacted. Every smile and every shared task intensified his resentment. He studied their patterns and silently adjusted his plans, convinced he was uncovering hidden messages in their behavior. The day became an opportunity for him to gather more information, and he absorbed every detail with obsessive attention. By late afternoon, Emma and Joshua returned home to arrange the ceremony space in the yard. They placed chairs, tested the lighting, and set aside small decorations to add the next morning. The simple setup matched Emma's dream of a calm, intimate event. Feeling accomplished, she took a photo of the nearly finished space and shared it online, believing it was a harmless update. The picture showed more than she realized: a clear view of the yard, the angle of the walkway, and the exact spot where she planned to stand. For Derek, That single image completed the map he had been constructing. He now understood the layout, the timing, and the location. As evening settled over the neighborhood, Emma felt at ease, proud of the progress made. She had no idea that the final detail she posted had given someone watching from the shadows exactly what he needed. On the morning of the ceremony, Emma stepped outside with a sense of calm she hadn't felt in years. The early light spread softly across the yard, illuminating the decorations she and Joshua had arranged the day before. She walked along the pathway, making small adjustments to the chairs and floral pieces, wanting everything to look just right. The air felt cool and quiet, carrying a peaceful stillness that matched her hopeful mood. She believed the day marked the true beginning of her new life, one free from fear and filled with stability. Her thoughts were focused on simple details, unaware that someone else was already moving into position. From the tree line at the edge of the property, Derek watched her quietly. He had arrived before sunrise, using the information he gathered online to guide his approach. The engagement post, the ceremony picture, and the patterns he had studied over weeks created a complete picture of where she would be. As he moved closer, his emotions blended into a single, relentless focus. He convinced himself that confronting her was necessary, ignoring every rational thought that tried to surface. Each step he took erased more of the distance she had placed between them. Emma continued adjusting decorations, feeling steady and unhurried. She sensed nothing unusual in the stillness around her. Joshua was inside preparing a few last items, planning to join her shortly. The neighborhood was quiet, offering no hint of danger. In a sudden moment, Derek emerged from his hidden position and carried out the attack, releasing the obsession he had carried for months. The peaceful morning was shattered instantly. Neighbors rushed toward the sound, and Joshua ran outside in shock, finding Emma severely wounded. Despite immediate efforts to help her, the injuries were beyond saving. The ceremony she had planned became the moment her life was abruptly taken away. The hours following the attack unfolded in a blur of confusion, panic, and disbelief across the neighborhood. Police arrived quickly and secured the area, separating witnesses while paramedics worked desperately to stabilize Emma, though the outcome was already clear. The scene felt unreal to those who knew her, a heartbreaking end to someone who had spent years rebuilding her life. News of the incident spread rapidly through the community, leaving many stunned that such violence could emerge from a past Emma believed she had escaped. Officers immediately began searching for Derek, piecing together information from neighbors, digital activity, and Emma's online posts. The evidence revealed a disturbing pattern of surveillance, showing how closely he had monitored her life without detection. As investigators followed leads, they discovered the anonymous accounts he used and the detailed notes he kept, each one reflecting the obsessive mindset that had grown unchecked. Hours later, Derek was found hiding in an abandoned field outside town, exhausted and cornered. He was taken into custody without resistance. The arrest did little to ease the grief felt by Emma's loved ones. Joshua struggled to comprehend how an engagement meant to symbolize healing had been twisted into a motive for violence by someone who refused to let go. In the days that followed, the community gathered to honor Emma's memory. Friends, co-workers, and neighbors shared stories of her resilience, her kindness, and the quiet strength she carried through difficult years. Her family decided to dedicate their efforts to supporting victims of harassment, hoping to help others recognize warning signs that often remain hidden until it is too late. Emma's story became a reminder of how digital traces can unintentionally expose someone to danger, urging others to protect their privacy and trust their instincts. Though her life ended tragically, her legacy pushed people to understand the real risks of being watched by someone who refuses to let the past stay buried.